Usually, ancient history feels a bit like a museum, right? Dusty artifacts safely locked behind glass.
Yeah, like they're interesting to look at, but they're not exactly going to change what you're having for dinner tonight.
Exactly. But what if one of those events just, refused to stay in the past? Today's deep dive is looking at a sermon by Pastor Sung No at Praise Presbyterian Church.
Right. He's diving into a really fascinating passage from 1 Corinthians chapter 15.
And the mission for today's deep dive is to see how this ancient text about resurrection actually offers, well, a pretty radical framework for handling your past regrets and your future anxieties right now.
Because the whole argument hinges on this massive pivot in the text. It's just two words, but now.
Okay, let's unpack this. Pastor No talks about this sort of domino effect, right?
Yeah, he points out that Christ's resurrection acts less like some historical footnote and more like a massive tectonic shift. Right. So if that first domino falls, it triggers this massive spiritual chain reaction. Once that happens, the ground underneath all of humanity just fundamentally changes.
And that shift is tied to this theological idea of inclusive representation. It basically frames two historical figures, Adam and Christ, as representatives for all of humanity.
Yeah, and Pastor No uses the metaphor of a tree to explain it.
Right, where Adam is the original stem and we are the branches. But hold on, usually a representative is like, say, a national soccer team.
Sure.
Like if they lose a big match, we're bummed out, but
you still go to work the next day.
Exactly. Your life isn't ruined. But Pastor No uses a much more extreme analogy, a tree. So if Adam was the original stem, does that mean we were just doomed from the start just by being attached?
What's fascinating here is that, yeah, it's not a loose affiliation. It's a shared, inescapable destiny.
Yikes. That's a bit heavy.
It is. Adam represents a root that was poisoned by self-assertion. Basically the desire to be his own God, relying entirely on his own strength. And because we're branches on that specific tree, we just naturally inherit the symptoms of that diseased root.
So we're talking about things like broken relationships, aging, that general feeling of emptiness.
Well,
and ultimately death.
Exactly. The structure itself is fundamentally sick.
Which means we can't just try harder to be a healthy branch. Like positive thinking isn't going to fix a rotting tree.
No, not at all. We actually need a completely new root system.
Right.
And that's where that but now moment changes everything.
Because Christ represents a brand new stem.
Right. But this one is rooted in self-sacrifice instead of self-assertion. And the crucial mechanism for this is faith.
So through belief, humanity is essentially grafted off the old dying tree and onto a new destiny.
You've got it.
Okay, but let's look at the reality of that for a second. If believers are grafted onto this shiny new stem, why is life still so incredibly hard?
That is the big question.
Right. If we have a new representative, why do we still get sick? Why do we age and, still go to funerals?
Well, it comes down to a farming concept, Pastor. No highlights called the first fruits.
Oh, like the first harvest of the season.
Exactly. When a farmer harvests that very first ripe fruit, it serves as a guarantee. It proves that the rest of the massive crop is inevitably coming.
But there's always a time gap between that single piece of fruit and the actual final harvest.
Right. Believers live in the tension of the already but not yet.
The already but not yet. I like that.
Yeah, so Christ is ruling now, but the final enemy, which is death, just hasn't been completely wiped out yet.
So the old symptoms are still lingering around while the new reality takes root.
Precisely. You have the proof in your hand, but you don't have the full pantry yet.
So what does this mean for you, listening right now? Because this waiting period isn't meant to be passive, right? It directly transforms how you endure the present.
Yeah, Pastor No makes the point that because of this new stem, heaven actually touches earth.
Not just in a church building.
No, we're talking hospital waiting rooms, stressful morning commutes, just daily struggles. The past, with all its regrets, and the future, with its anxieties, they actually lose their power over you.
Because the pains you experience right now are reclassified as temporary symptoms, not the final word of your story.
Exactly.
Which brings up a really provocative thought to leave you with today. Pastor No states that these pains and anxieties are just symptoms. So, look at the biggest stressor in your life right now, the thing keeping you up at night.
Yeah, think about it.
How would your approach to it change today if you treated it merely as a temporary symptom rather than the ultimate reality of your story?